used FUT, or strip harvesting. Could you explain what that is?
Strip harvesting is one of the means of harvesting the grafts.
I think we're going to get close to about 4,000 follicles the way this is looking. So what will happen is this is permanent hair, and it is going to be removed, and my team of technicians are going to cut it into the individual follicles while I pre-make all the holes here, getting all their angles and direction, really the artistry of it all happening on Paul's head.
So it can actually be done with a strip where this is then divided up under the microscope by a team of trained staff, and then they are actually implanted. Or you can use a technique called follicular unit extraction, where there is a little cylinder which actually goes into the back of your head and attempts to take out the individual follicles. But they're just two different ways of harvesting. Now, the reality is the outcome with a transplant is how it's put together. In other words, the control of the placement of the recipient sites, the density, the relationship of the holes to each other. Much like a house, you can get a load of bricks, but if you don't know how to put them together to make a beautiful house, then it's just going to be an ordinary house. Strip harvesting or follicular unit transplant has been around for 50 years, and it has reached its zenith. FUE has been around less than 20 years, and it has certainly not reached its zenith. At the moment, an FUE graft does not survive as well as a strip harvesting one. You have a limited number of follicles. You can't get more. Once they're used up, destroyed, dried out, whatever, they're gone. Surely, I know what I'd want for my family, and I would treat you like a family member. I would want the best possible result, and I'm going to get that by having the best quality grafts that have not been transected, had their cells ripped away from them. If you want to be a guinea pig and have somebody else do that, be my guest.
Strip harvest, which is what you had, is where we take an entire length of skin and it's all dissected under microscopes. And so 100% of the follicles that are taken out survive and get put back in.
What about the result? How does it affect the final outcome?
With FUE, where you're getting a lot of hair death, you expect on average a 30 to 50% less growth rate compared with strip.
To prove the point, when you have your procedure, I'm actually going to take out some grafts with FUE and get you to have a look at them yourself. How would you like that?
Well, I'm not sure that I like the sound of it.
Well, perhaps just 10 then.
Okay, all right. And I think it would be good for the viewers to see that process. So if it's 10, I'm game.
Okay, you're on.
And so a year later, you can probably see the increased density achieved through FUT. I believe that we did trial some FUE. I was under sedation. What happened?
So on the day of the procedure, we took out 10 of these FUE punch hairs and 4 of them were damaged.
That meant they died.
Oh.
The important follicles when you're transplanting are the ones that naturally have 3 or 4 hairs because they're going to give you more bang for your buck. Unfortunately, under the skin, they tend to diverge, almost like a tripod. And so when we're doing the punch to extract them, inevitably something gets damaged along the way, and you do get some collateral damage and you lose a lot. So internationally,
often get one or 2 hairs instead of 3 or 4.
Yeah, you get a lot of wastage. So internationally, that's sort of a standard result, is to get a 60% yield when you're doing FUE. And sure, if you only had a little bit of baldness, a small area to cover, and a lot of donor hair, if you get a 40% loss rate, not the end of the world, but when we're trying to cover a huge area like yours because of your extensive hair loss, you can't afford to lose that 40%.
Also, when you're doing larger procedures of FUE, not only do you transect, which also means almost death of the follicles, but you thin out the donor area, and so for the rest of their life, they can have this really thin donor area. It looks as though they're recovering from chemotherapy or something like that, but that's permanent.
And you don't need that. You can have FUT, like I did, and get a superior result. It's a much smaller linear scar with FUT. The surface area is bigger with FUE, like little craters all amalgamated together. That's a big scar. Who wants that?
Well, I think the other thing is with FUT, you are cutting what you see, you're seeing what you cut. It's all done under magnification, and so therefore naturally you're going to get much better quality hair follicles.
And so it's FUT for me.